place probably where we were going to be, so we picked up a couple extra spots on luck, but we'll take it. You know, that last year, honestly, we didn't get that. We got the opposite end of this deal last year, where we never got the yellows to fall our way, and we always got kind of unlucky. So I'm really happy with today. Guys did a great job. And I also just want to say congrats to Colton. He did a really phenomenal job today, drove well. His team did a great job too, so those guys fully deserve the win.
Ryan Hunter-Reay started third and finished third. Ryan, we heard you mentioning that you struggled with the car a little bit, that it was a really tricky race for you. Take us through your race and what was sort of going on that was leading to some of those struggles. But ultimately a podium finish, and not too bad of a struggle.
Yeah, considering where we were last weekend, you know, I was driving home early from the race, so it's nice to get some good points here. And as you mentioned, just struggled with the balance of the car a bit. Anytime I got some grip in the front, it was loose, and vice versa. So not sure why, but you know, we'll try and analyze that and come back better next year. But all in all, good day on points. As Josef said, congratulations to Harding, Steinbrenner, and Colton. Colton did a great job. He's been quick ever since he hit the track here in the open test, so no surprise he was up there this weekend, but it's another thing to go ahead and seal the deal when you're out front. Did a great job, and yeah, all in all, it's good points that we'll take away from here.
We'll open up for questions. Yes. Yep.
John Harberlin. Sorry.
Hey, John.
It's on.
Yeah, so you know who I am now. So Josef, on that final restart, you had about 120 seconds of push to pass, and Colton had about 43. What were you thinking? Did you think you might have had it?
Well, I knew we had a shot. I was excited. I was like, man, we'll see what we can do. But it just turned out that we didn't have enough. We just simply weren't fast enough. His Andretti, Harding Steinbrenner car was very fast. But yeah, no, they were very quick today, and we just simply didn't have enough. I was trying to actually progress through that stint and see how I ended up towards the back end and see if he dropped off with tires. But he was just so good on cold tires, which has really kind of been our nemesis, to be honest. We're very good on looking after our tires, but we can't get going quite as quick as these guys. So that's really what hurt us. He put a big gap on me there in that first lap and then just kind of maintained, and I couldn't close up. Just didn't have enough today.
Kyle Magny, ESPN Albuquerque, New Mexico Motorsports Report. Josef, just as a quick follow-up, were you lacking anything else there? I know John just mentioned about the push-to-pass seconds that you had.
Yeah, we did a great job conserving there. We were locked and loaded for a fight at the end, but obviously just couldn't do enough with it. I don't think we lacked anything, other than just getting up to speed quicker. On cold tires, we're not as good, and just took us a while to get going. But I think if the caution didn't fall and it was more about tire deg in that last stint, I think I would have had a better fight with Colton. But there with minimum laps and just getting going, I just didn't have the speed, to be honest.
Ryan, you've known his dad for quite a while. He's been part of the team. Colton's been one of your teammates with Indy Lights the last couple of years. When did you first kind of look at him and think that this kid's going to be something special?
It's funny, at first sight you're like, man, I wouldn't trust that guy with my Honda Civic, but he's really good. He's very talented, extremely talented. And he's done a great job. To do that at 18, I put it in perspective. I think back when I was 18, I thought a Barber Dodge Pro Series car was a big deal back then. Like that was a lot of horsepower. Like this is the big league. And he just won an IndyCar race, so pretty amazing stuff. I think that puts it in perspective. But yeah, he's been hanging around racing for a while. Brian told me, the stories that Brian would go away to races and Colton's mom Brian would get the trailer ready, stick it in the driveway with the trailer hooked up, facing out because she never wanted to back it up or anything, and she would drive the two kids to the go-kart race while Brian was off racing IndyCar races. It's a pretty cool story, and it takes a lot, especially when you consider Colton went to Europe just to kind of, I guess, learn on his own, as Josef did, but Colton spent time over there when he was really young, and kid's growing up fast, for sure.
Josef, what series were you in at that age?
It's funny. Just to Ryan's point, he's done a very similar thing to what I did. A couple of years earlier, I think he went over at 16 or so. I was 17. But You love my hat, don't you? I like that Ryan took his off. I think they look damn cool. All right,
I'll
first
put it
off.
on. I'm just, these guys pay the bills here.
But Colton, so I went over with the Team USA scholarship. That's a little different than what Colton did. But my first year in the UK was in the British Formula Ford Championship, and Colton went over to run. What is it? Was it F4? Yeah, which is very similar to what British Formula Ford was. British Formula Ford kind of went away, so it wasn't there anymore. It's either Formula MSA or Formula F4. So very similar series, but yeah, that UK training ground is really solid. So I think those years that Colton spent there was time well spent. And then he came back to America, straight to lights, and then obviously to IndyCar here. So it's a pretty good path.
Was there something about, was there something about the COTA track under race conditions that surprised you coming off the practice rounds and qualifying? And by the way, both of you look really good in the hats. Could we see you at Rodeo Austin later tonight?
That would be fun.
I've never been.
That'd be fun, for sure.
Yeah, I'd love to go. I don't know that we were going to show up tonight, but I'm a big fan.
Yeah, I got a lot of paperwork tonight, but I definitely.
I got to move some
kidding.
stuff.
I'd love to be
tonight,
there.
So.
Rodeos are fun.
Yeah,
They're fun. I've been to one, and yeah, we got family in town, the kids and all that stuff. But yeah, sounds like a good time. The track was, I mean, it was good. It was just, I don't think anybody really knew what it was going to come down to, and it was tire degradation through a whole stint. So you're just kind of, you're like, man, every time you get that wheel spin out of a corner, every time you abuse the rears, you think, wow, I'm paying the price. It's going to come back to me later. It's going to come back and get me later. So you just had to keep the tires under you. And Firestone obviously does such a great job with that. No real surprises other than that. It's just very challenging with as little downforces we're running, so people don't understand compared to Formula One just how we're dealing with a lot less downforce. And then when we get into that dirty air, when we have another car in front of us, running out front is a big deal for pace. Absolutely.
Other questions? Yes, Mary.
I don't know how exciting it was from where your perspective was in the race, but this seemed like a no-holds-barred race. You could drive your car wherever you wanted, and it was legal. There was some wheel-to-wheel contact here and there. What did you think about race control allowing you to do that?
I mean, I think the positive is there's no interference, right? Which is good. I think we like when race control has less interference. The turn 19 thing, I think we need to look at for next year, see how we police that. But certainly the way they, I think, policed everything else was, I mean, for me, I didn't have a big problem with it. It seemed like it was fair enough. You got a lot of side-by-side. You had a place to go if you got knocked off. And you just you had to know in your mind that that's racing ground. And again, it just takes out that equation where race control could get involved. And at the end of the day, sometimes that's a good thing. So, fine line, good and bad. But overall, I was okay with it.
Yeah, I agree with Joseph. I mean, we have to look at it next year, but race control had its hands tied on this because in the open test here, there were hundreds of violations. So you don't want to be watching a race and all of a sudden cars start peeling off the track and penalties from race control, and you're like, why? Oh, well, because he was 1.5 inches too wide out of this corner. I mean, there's nothing you can do about it. We just need to come back with a better solution next year. But yeah, I'll be happy not to see turn 19 again for a few weeks. Every time through there, it felt like I was rolling the dice. You?
Dude, same.
Yeah.
It was like, I know I can make up a lot of time here, but I could also throw it off really easily. So.
Like Rosenquist did, right?
Yeah.
Is that the same thing?
Oh, is that what happened? Oh, I thought he just lost it.
Was he coming in the pit when he got hit? Huh.
Whoa.
Both of them?
That sounds terrible.
Oh, I have to see that one. Oh, I gotcha.
Hinge won the battle. Okay. I mean, clearly, right?
Yeah. Yeah. It's weird. You were a foot off on line through there, and the car would just hit, and next through, it's perfectly smooth, and feel like you did the same line. So.
Yeah, you kind of rolling the dice a little. A lot of time, and if you hit it perfect, car was stable. But if you're just off by an inch here or there, you could have a big moment. So, yeah, we'll look at. I mean, we've all talked about it. We're all trying to for next year.
Yeah, it was a wild ride. It's enough rodeo for me for one day.
Joseph, you and Colton obviously shared the European experience, but you also have something else in common. You both had Doug Zister as your lights engineer. Is there something about Doug? He's trained a lot of good young drivers. Is there something about Doug that just makes him better at producing IndyCar drivers?
Yeah, Doug, he's a real Zen master. No, Doug's a great dude. I forgot about that actually, that he worked with Doug. I don't know if that, I really don't. I don't know if that, translates to anything similar between us. He's just a very solid engineer. Different teams. I was with Schmidt back then in Indy Lights, and obviously he ran with Andretti, so different environments. But Doug's a really great engineer. Very, very calm, very, very thorough. I think very patient, which is good for a young driver. So those would be positives. But then also, I would be lax to forget. I think actually, I'm very happy for his current engineer, Nathan O'Rourke. Nathan was my engineer when I was a rookie. So I guess we have a lot of similarities between Colton and me. I don't know how we've gotten the same engineers, the same path. He's won a race way earlier than me, so that's not good. But I'm really happy for Nathan is I guess what I wanted to say, because he's a great engineer. He's been in this series for a long time, worked with a lot of guys, but he's just very solid. So I was really happy for him at the end too, to see him get a win.
Joseph, on Thursday, you talked about the unknown that comes with IndyCar racing and a new track like this. Did it take you a couple laps today to kind of figure out the unknown, especially with turn 19?
Yeah, definitely. Turn 1 was an unknown. Didn't know we were going to get there. You try to guess, try to look at other series and how they've raced there. But we seemed to get through just fine. I was actually really happy when we got through just the first turn, first lap. That was pretty pleasing to me, because that was the biggest unknown in my opinion of how's this going to go. But there was a lot of racing room. Kind of goes back to no policing. I think that helped us get through there with no contact, and worked out just fine for us. And then the race itself, it seemed like a pretty good battle. At the end when we were flat chat, it was pretty tough to do anything. Like Ryan said, being out front was really the name of the game. But up to that point, I felt like you could kind of make moves with fuel mileage and pitting. So it seemed like you could have some action on track. And yeah, the turn 19 thing ended up not being too crazy. So yeah, unknowns, but seemed to be a typical IndyCar race to me.
Hi guys. Today you two benefited from the timely caution flag, and it seems like every race somebody gets cheated, so to speak, by having the pits closed. In today's case, the leaders got cheated. Do you think that's fair, or should the IndyCar implement a virtual safety car? With the new car coming up in a couple of years, should they implement a virtual safety car system in the name of fairness?
I don't know. I've been dealing with this same problem for whatever it is, 14 years driving here. I don't know. It's been the same thing. It's part of it, kind of. You stay out there too long, you leave yourself exposed. Virtual safety car, we've talked about that, but there's some problems with it at some of the street circuits, isn't there? No?
I can't recollect. We've had conversations about it, without a doubt.
There was some downside to doing that. When you have a super tight street circuit and you need to get trucks out like you had today, well, you had to have trucks out. It was at pit entry, right? When you get safety trucks out, you've got to be careful on how you do that. And I forget the points that were brought up, but it had something to do with vehicles on track. And
yeah, believe me, we've vetted it a bit. It's not a case of not looking at it. But it is, to Ryan's point, it's been a part of the game. It's the same thing in qualifying, to some degree. Like it has to be built into your strategy that that this is a variable, and you either push the risk or you minimize the risk. And it's part of the strategy. People pit early to minimize the risk, or you go late and you're taking more of a gamble. And I guess the positive of it, even though it's terrible, last year for us, we got bit by it so many times. So I should hate it. Ryan's been bit by it a million times too. We should all hate it. But you can also benefit from it, like today. And at the same point, it does add quite a bit to the show. It's not this processional thing. It can get mixed up really quick. And it depends on how you look at it. Some people look at that and say, well, that's not good because it's mixing it up artificially, or you can say, no, it's great because it adds a lot of excitement. So it's kind of a tough line on that one as well.
Yeah, I think the most unfortunate thing is a casual fan comes to a race to watch it. Two cars are leading the race for half of it, 3/4 of it. Yellow comes out, all of a sudden they're P13 and 14, and they're like, well, why are they back there? You know, what happened there? And it's hard to explain. I mean, I've got to explain it to some of my friends, and it's a bit tough to explain sometimes.
Question to you, Ryan. You said earlier, just to understand the technical part a little bit better of IndyCar, if I can understand it correctly, there is a problem when you follow dirty air, follow a car in front of you. Can you describe what's the behavior then of the car? How much different is the car then behind the dirty air?
I look forward to this.
It's just, you just lose overall grip. You know, that you rely on downforce for that grip, and once you've gone 4 or 5 laps past the tires, even on new tires, if you're following a car immediately behind, you just lose it. You lose that overall grip. You're sliding around, the car's moving, it's eating up more racetrack, you can't keep your foot on the throttle as much. It's overall just worse. Doesn't brake as well. You know, and at the same time, you're eating the life out of the tire. So it's tough. It's been a problem with open wheel cars since I ever first sat in one, but yeah.
Beautiful.
Thanks, man.
Tuno with the Associated Press. What do you remember doing after your first victory, and what would you advise young Mr. Herta to do tonight?
First win.
Well,
Mine was in Surfers Paradise, Australia, so I had a really good time. But what about you?
Wow. That is a good point. It depends on where you are.
Where was your first one?
Birmingham, Alabama.
Yeah, it's not bad.
It's not a bad place.
And how did you celebrate?
The beautiful United States of America. I mean, it's fine. I think everybody's different. I mean, for me, like when I'm done with the race, I think about food, and I would like to eat, preferably well, you know, if it's possible. And you treat yourself to a nice meal, and then you get yourself a nice night of sleep, you know. But that
sounds thrilling, man. You're a real rock star.
It's a very boring approach, and I realize that doesn't work for everybody. So it's it's very individualized.
I think the best thing after a win is when the few races after you win that you get to spend the time with your team, because oftentimes they fly out. But it's cool to spend the time with the guys and the team. That's what I had in Surfers. That was pretty cool. Where we went out that night, you know, we ate food. We consumed. We went to bed late. It was good fun. But whenever you get to celebrate with your team, I think it's best. That's for sure.
Yeah, that's a good point. That's probably the best advice for Colton is to spend it with his boys there. That's what you look forward to. As you work all weekend, they put their hearts and souls into it, just like we do in the seat. And so to celebrate together is always one of the coolest things.
Yep.
For both of you, I just wonder, what your thoughts were after experiencing this week in COTA. There's been a lot of talk about coming here, and what you both think about the future of this race. And
It's a great addition to the calendar.
Yeah.
Look, we were all pumped to come here. You know, this is an easy sell. Austin, Texas. A lot of people like coming here regardless.
It's a great market for us to come to.
Yeah, it's a big market. So I think it's an awesome addition. You know, I hope everyone enjoyed the race today. I enjoyed it. I thought, the whole weekend, the venue itself was really great. So we look forward to coming back for more, and hopefully the fans enjoyed themselves. It seemed like throughout the weekend, with all the fan access that people have, they really appreciated that from the IndyCar side, and that's what we do really well, is putting on a good show and giving people great access. So we hope people appreciate that, and we can continue to do it in the future.
Yep. Hopefully we're back for many years. Great venue. Great market. Love Austin. Love the place. The atmosphere here. It's our first race here, so hopefully this is the start of something great.
Other questions for Josef or Ryan?
With Colton's short run speed, did you guys think maybe you were in trouble then when the caution came out there, knowing how fast he was on that short run?
No, I thought it was going to be interesting because Josef and I had a lot more overtake than him. So I think had we been able, you're not allowed to use overtake the first full lap. Well, a full lap around here is very long. So had we been able to spray it on that first lap, make him use it up, it might have been a little bit more interesting from there. But it is what it is. He had that clean air out front. That combined with the fact that he's did a great job, well balanced race car. He's taking the advantage of it. He was able to open up a gap on us. So I don't think we felt like we were in trouble. It seemed like an opportunity for us, really, that we weren't able to capitalize on.
Yeah, same. I felt the same.
Any last? Gentlemen, congratulations. Thanks
All right,
very much.
thank you.
Conference with our two winning team owners from Harding Steinbrenner Racing, Mike Harding and George Steinbrenner IV. Mike and George, congratulations, first of all. Comments from each of you of how excited you are for this victory, such a young team, second race of the season and coming out successful.
Well, we didn't expect it. We've been struggling for a while and stuff, and we put together one hell of a crew, and our driver showed it today, so it was awesome.
Yeah, to Mike's point, it's always surreal when you have a dream and you chase it, and you never really know what the outcome's gonna truly be like when it happens. And it was great. I mean, in the sport, it takes perfect execution and a little bit of luck, and our crew did everything perfectly to keep us in front of Newgarden all day, and Colton the same thing. So we caught the little bit of luck on the yellow, and then Colton executed from there, and here we are.
George, you and Colton have such a close history together with your time in Indy Lights as well. Does it mean something a little extra special for you today to win with him?
100%. I mean, the whole reason I'm here at such a young age is because Colton and I looked at each other. We said we have the same dream. Why not chase it together? And we always would talk about what it would be like to win an IndyCar race together. And now that it happened, we're still not really sure what it would be like, because I don't think we've really processed it yet.
So what's the next goal after that? So now checklist. You won an IndyCar race together. What do you think that next stepping stone is?
I think there's a pretty big race in May, and I think for us that's the next big goal. That would be it.
Youngest driver to ever to win the Indy 500. So,
Absolutely.
yeah.
Mike, from an organizational standpoint, from the top down, from the two of you to team president Ryan Barnhart, to Vince Kramer, and everybody that you have at that organization, what does it mean to you to put those people in place and see success so early?
Well, each one of them's worked their butt off, and like I said, it's been a hard road, lack of sponsorship and stuff. So, I mean, it's awesome. I mean, I'm so happy for everyone. We put together our crew at the last minute, and look at the pit stuff that these guys did today. It's awesome. So I couldn't be more proud.
Absolutely.
So.
Questions? Yes, Jerry.
Jerry Jordan, kicking the charge time net. George, your name iconic in other areas, but how does it feel to be starting a legacy, here with this team, with this win, and you yourself being as young as you guys are?
For me, it was always just about, I grew up with two passions, baseball and racing, and I thought my family had one pretty well covered, so might as well go and chase another one. And I got to do it with Colton, and now I'm partnering with Mike and putting this crew together, and the hard work that they put in, to Mike's point, starting in the off season and getting us to the test in COTA, and once we showed that we had the pace there, it was all hands on deck, fire underneath all of us. We know we got what it takes, so it's about making it happen.
A question for both of you. During the TV commentary, it was mentioned by the commentator, first of all, congratulations. It was mentioned by the commentator that you have a cooperation with Andretti Autosport. Can you go more in details? What kind of cooperation? Are they supplying engineers, technical advice? How is the cooperation looking?
So I can answer that. So Andretti Technologies as a company has come on board to supply support for us on a technical partnership, much like the you see elsewhere in the paddock. But to have Andretti Technologies on board it speaks volume to where we're at now, and the fact that we're all three of us sitting up here, and they have a lot to do with that.
We'll take a quick pause in questions to introduce our IndyCar Classic race winner, Colton Herta, driving the number 88 Harding Steinbrenner Racing Honda. As we mentioned many times today, the youngest winner in IndyCar history at 18 years, 11 months, and 25 days. Colton, we've heard you say it a couple of times. We've all been watching the TVs and listening to your post-race quotes, but tell us again just how exciting it is for you to become not only the youngest winner, but just a winner in general.
Oh man, yeah. Just to be up with the names that the people that have won this race, I'm gonna live and die a IndyCar winner, which is spectacular in itself. But yeah, to break the record of the young age and you know, to be standing up here, it kind of feels surreal.
Can you take us through the race specifically, moments that stood out to you that you felt, obviously the late caution helped a lot of people, but things that happened in the race that felt like this might be the race where it happens, where you got your first win?
I didn't think it was going to happen in this race. It seemed like Will and Rossi had a bit of a pace advantage on us, really. So I think, you know, the max we were going to get was third without the caution. But caution came out, and we really were, I think, third best. But on the restart, we kind of showed that we were quick. And, yeah, we kind of sprinted off. I know we got the quickest lap on that first lap, which was pretty crazy to have the tires up to temp and everything ready for that.
And as we mentioned, Colton Herta completes an All-American podium for the IndyCar Classic, actually a 1, 2, 3, 4 finish for Americans in this race. Bruce?
One for Colton, one for George. Your dad's been a tremendous supporter, very, you know, he gets kind of emotional when you're out there winning races. What was he like when you finally got a chance to see him, or have you even seen him yet?
No, I just got to see him for a quick second, so yeah, I'm sure he was pretty happy about it. I only saw him for a split second, though, and yeah, I was kind of hounded by people, so I'll get to see him a little bit when I get to go back to the trailer.
And for George, we all know your family background, but I kind of think one of the key figures in your helping you get here is Sean. And how big a role has Sean played, and how much do you give him for helping you get to this? Because he kind of helped tell you the ins and the outs of what it's going to take to become a team owner.
Yeah, and to elaborate a little more on what Bruce is saying, he's referring to my stepfather, Sean Jones. It's been a huge inspiration for me. I mean, he's lived a life in motorsports and he's lived a life in business. So I have had and still have a lot to learn from him. And he's one of the many mentors that I've been fortunate enough to have in this paddock, and sort of teaching me the ins and outs and getting me ready to go in IndyCar, and obviously all of them are Michael Andretti, Ryan Hunter-Reay, Mike Harding, J.F. Thorman, Rob Edwards, and Sean, of course. Once I started in Indy Lights, those guys really took me under their wing and really helped me get to where I am now.
Jerry Jordan, KickingTires.net. Colton, for you, I don't know if you're aware of this, the track renamed their Twitter account Colton of the Americas after your win today. When do you think it'll sink in for you about this win, and you'll get to enjoy what this was, the IndyCar Classic here at Austin, the first time ever at this track?
I got no clue. You know, I've been bit by the bug now. I think like one race win isn't enough. I want to go for another one in Barber now and just want to get there and drive again. But yeah, really good job by everybody. The boys did a really good job on the stops, faultless the whole day, and Honda did a good job getting the engine back in. And so yeah, everybody did a good job. George did a good job. Good job, George. Mike did a good job. Good job, Mike. And yeah, everybody did a good job.
Joey?
For George, could you just talk about how your ownership in Indy Lights really helped prepare you for being an IndyCar team owner?
I think, and I'll start my I'll start at the beginning of the journey when I interned at Ryan Hunter-Reay Rally Sport for the 2016 season, for sort of learning the top to bottom of how a race team operates during the week and during the weekend and everything. And then when Colton and I decided that we'd start this crazy journey together in Indy Lights, being able to partner with Andretti Autosport in Indy Lights was huge. I mean, they're a buttoned-down organization. They do everything right, and to be able to learn from the folks there was a huge jump start to it's the perfect jump start I could have hoped for IndyCar ownership career.
Mark Cipollone, Auto Racing One. First question for Colton. Before that last restart, how confident were you that you could hold off Newgarden and Hunter-Reay, given they had a lot more push to pass than you did?
Yeah, not super confident at all, to be honest. I wasn't I was kind of looking at it, you know, they might get by me. I hopefully I could still salvage a podium. Another big thing was I've never done a restart on cold tires that were reds in St. Pete. I only did my restarts on the blacks. But yeah, it kind of felt a little natural. You know, the tires came up to temp really quickly, and it wasn't really that big of a problem. I got a really good jump out of the last corner. I think Newgarden got a little bit of a wheel spin, and then, yeah, it was off to the races for me. And, yeah, pulled out the gap, kind of got it to where I wanted, and tried to hold it there and save my push to pass just in case a caution came out at the end.
And second question for Mike and George. You were going to have a second car for part of the season with a Ward, and that kind of fell apart. Is the plan still to go to a two-car team at some point? And if so, would that be this year or next year?
This year, we're just going to stick with the one-car team. Next year, maybe a two-car team. We haven't got that far yet. So, you know, obviously the sponsorship's been hard, so we got some good things happening today, so see what we can do.
Maybe the Yankees will sponsor the car.
Yeah. Hey, I hope. So,
Nope.
But none of this would be been possible without Michael Andretti. So I'd like to say thanks to Michael and his team. So, you know, he elevated us up to the top real quick. So if it wasn't for him, we wouldn't be here. So.
Colton, when you pulled into the winner's circle and tried to take the steering wheel off, it looked like you're having a little trouble. Were you just exhausted, and what was this race like to be out there, such a long track with all those turns?
I was a little exhausted. It wasn't terrible. I was definitely more worn out after St. Pete, but I don't know what happened. The steering wheel just got stuck, and I couldn't pull it. Maybe my frail little fingers couldn't get there, but yeah, this race was tough when you first put on new tires and you're going through the S's, especially when the rubber was down on the last set. We put on new reds, and yeah, it wasn't super physical because we had these long straights, and it was pretty cool in temperature, unlike St. Pete where you're constantly turning, fighting the car, and then it was obviously, you know, whatever, 85 with 80% humidity, so it was extremely hot. But yeah, it was cool to win here. You know, first race at Circuit of the Americas, and youngest to do that was spectacular, and I think a thing that I'll look back onto for forever, and however long my racing career is.
Question for Colton. My name is Colton Mendoza from Mañana de Reynosa. I'm the friend of San Antonio. Colton, I have followed your career, and I'm also a fan of your father, Michel Jourdain, Edwin Fernandez, and so forth. But my question is a little more in technical aspect. Why have you done differently? Because it seems like you have stepped up your driving skill from your Indy Lights race. So what have you done differently in the last 4 months to prepare you for this win? That for me, you were in your shoes, seemed like you're winning at the Series Championship, winning this race. So congratulations to the team, to the owner, and to George. I mean, it's very
Thank you.
impressive. Very
Thank you.
impressive.
Yeah, I haven't really changed my driving style at all. The Indy Lights car is quite a bit different with the stiffer tire that Cooper has. Obviously, their tires are meant to last for a 45 to an hour long race, whereas we last for, 20 to 30 minutes. So we obviously have a softer tire than they do. It's made to produce grip for a lot shorter of a time and produce a lot more grip. So it's obviously a really big different driving style. And so I don't know, I think maybe my driving style just suits the IndyCar more than it did the Lights car, or yeah, I don't know. Maybe I just woke up one day and just hit myself on the head and learned how to drive.
Chris Bills from the Austin American Statesman. Colton, first race here to come away a winner, but also you've done so well here at spring training. And is there anything about this track that really fits your eye? And then also, what's it like to have your name associated with this place, being the first IndyCar winner here?
It's pretty sweet. This is a wicked place, and I think it kind of helps that it's low grip. I think I kind of thrive a little bit more in low grip situations with a loose car. And that's kind of what you need here to get through the S's fast. I know a lot of the guys that were struggling had a lot of understeer in the S's, couldn't quite get the one-lap balance down, but yeah, you got to be able to kind of drive a loose car. Obviously, the grip level of the track didn't change much for some reason. I think the asphalt doesn't take rubber. It kind of just puts it down on top of the track and kind of shuffles it off. So the lap times actually didn't really change that much throughout the weekend. If you look at other weekends, how big of a time difference there is. But yeah, I guess to go back on it, it's just being able to drive a loose car here, I think, is the key, and being able to hold on to it for a stint is the tough thing.
Colton, I don't know if you were in here yet, but George was asked how much it meant to him to have won on that first race first race with you. And I was wondering how much it means to you that you guys kind of set out on this journey together to win your first race with George.
Yeah, it's super cool. Obviously, I've been friends with George since I was 12 years old. He actually came to a Skip Barber race at Lime Rock, and that's where we first met. And that was my first year in racing cars. I went over to Europe, came back. We partnered up in a crazy idea that we thought we could go IndyCar racing someday. Yeah, it was spectacular. And to have him with me along the ride, it means so much. Obviously, he's done really good things, both him and Mike, to turn the program around in the off season like they did and start pushing results in right away. It's very impressive, and I don't think I've ever seen that before with any team. So, yeah, really impressive for them.
Colton, Joseph said on the podium there was a mix-up. You got the cider, you got the champagne.
Yeah.
What did you do?
I'm feeling
Did you
it.
switch back? You feeling it? Did you drink it? Did you switch back? What did you do?
No, I didn't switch back. I kept the champagne. I don't know what happened, though. We're all looking at I took a swig, and I was like, wait, this is real. And he's like, no, it's not. Mine's fake. And then we're like, oh, yeah, we kind of switched it up.
That's why I smell like this.
Yeah.
Cops are at the door.
Yeah.
Question to George Steinbrenner. Just being a little bit older than Colton, did you ever try or will you try yourself a race car, regardless what it will be?
No, I never really did. I always had a passion for motorsport. Never myself got behind the wheel of a go-kart or anything at a really young age. By the time I started coming around to IndyCar races all the time, the people I looked up to, coming from the family I do, were the Michael Andretti's, the Roger Penske's, the Chip Ganassi's, the Brian Hertas. So for me, I figured out pretty quickly that I wanted to, if I were ever to get involved in motorsport like I wanted to, it would be on a management or more on the non-driving side of things. Yeah.
Trey Campbell here with Sports Map Houston. First and foremost, Colton, congratulations and thanks for the shirt compliment earlier today. That really made my day. I appreciate that. But on that last run, how much did the push to pass make a difference for getting away from Newgarden and Ryan Hunter-Reay?
Not much, because I think, well, I had 35 seconds and they had 120 seconds at the end. I don't know how much Ryan had. I know that's what Joseph had, but so yeah, actually, I think it was just down to what the car setup was like and what we were able to do on cold tires and kind of push it right away. I don't think it was really down to push to pass in the end, but yeah, I was kind of confused because Joseph only used about 26 seconds of his push to pass, and he said he was waiting for me to burn up my tires, but tires stayed the whole time, so yeah.
Last question from Bruce.
One for Colton and one for two team owners. Colton, the style of racing out there was looked like a lot of fun. You guys were getting into it, banging off each other. There was a lot of aggression out there, maybe not at the front of the field, but certainly behind power there was plenty of it. How much fun was it to drive on this course today in an IndyCar?
Oh, it's so much fun. It's especially fun when you get to drive up front with the leaders, and this is the first time I've done it, so it's kind of cool to see, guys that I kind of looked up to. I got to pass Dixon on the first lap, got to pass Ryan on the first lap, and I was hanging in there with Will, ran him down in the second stint, and so yeah, it was really cool, and this place is super cool in an IndyCar. The high-speed stuff, it's pretty spectacular, and yeah, I don't know how the race was. I hope it was a good race. I didn't get to watch it, unfortunately. It was awesome.
And for Mike and George, Art St. Cyr of Honda really kind of increased his capacity in order to bring you guys on as a Honda team, and how today was his last race at HPD as HPD president. The fact that he kind of showed a lot of confidence in what your team can do. How important was that, and how special is it that your first win is his last at HPD?
It's really special. You know, we had a tough engine manufacturer decision to make over the off season, and when we were at the end of the line, we chose Honda for a couple of different factors. But I had had a history with Honda, being involved with Andretti, being involved with Ryan Hunter-Reay before, so I knew some of the folks at the administration over at Honda and HPD, and it was sort of a comfort level for me to be able to call Honda home, and you know, to do it in Art's last race, for us to be able to bring him a win when he and the rest of HPD had so much confidence in us, it was really special.
Gentlemen, congratulations again. We will see you in Birmingham.
Oh yeah.